Good science, by definition, allows for more than one opinion. Otherwise, you merely have the will of one man, which is the basis of cult.
If it's not in frame, it doesn't exist.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!
I'm funny how? I mean funny like I'm a clown and you lose it?
Where you been?
Drunk. Wendy. Darling. Light of my life.
What's your one purpose in life?
To explode, of course.
I like death with sex. How about you, Casey? You like sex with death?
Yeah, so fuck up and die.
Yeah,
Balls.
pretty fun. It's pretty fun that they even say it. They're like balls, and they got a little cute.
It's good. I like it.
Grin. Yeah.
I never thought. Yeah, I'm a big fan of balls now. So this is the last. This is the Cult of Cinema Knowledge podcast.
What are we on? we guessed.
I always said I'm
sorry.
afraid I'm gonna fucking do that. This is the Cult of Cinema Knowledge podcast. We talk about fucking movies, man.
Yeah,
that's Jordan.
And
I'm Levi. Hi.
Yeah, this is me. Hello.
Balls. Fuck balls. All right. Anyway, so we're in March now officially, and we are doing documentaries, a subject that has been we've talked about doing a lot over the years, and for some reason we kept putting it off for no real reason, but we're diving into documentaries. I
think documentaries are daunting. Maybe that's kind of why
they are. I'm daunted by this episode.
Yes, right. I know. I love it though. Like we started strong, and I'm excited. Like I don't know. Next week will be more of like a softball pitch because I feel like it'll be easier to like create a narrative like right and wrong essentially.
We'll see. We'll see. I mean,
doing this series, I've kind of come to terms with. I enjoy documentaries. Before this, I kind of was like, I don't know if I've ever seen a documentary. And then it's like everyone I've talked to about it, where I'm like, oh, this month we're doing documentaries. They throw some at me, and I'm like, oh yeah, I've heard of that. That one's great. And it's like, oh, and then like as we're doing this, I'm thinking about it, and I think I was apprehensive on doing documentaries because I was afraid we would get very little feedback, and it would just kind of like it would go dead. But it's been, I mean, we've had quite a few comments.
Yeah. It's just
people are like,
it's so varied. Like you can make a documentary about literally anything. So there are so fucking many. But it's hard to talk about, and that's kind of why I was daunted. I was saying to you a little bit before, because it's like you can't break it down like you do a normal movie. You can't be like, oh, the screenplay for this documentary. You know what I mean? The character development, like.
but what is fun though is like. In this particular documentary, which do you want to tell the folks at home what we're watching?
Yeah, I was preambling about documentaries for the month in general,
right.
But we specifically this week started off with the 1991 film Paris is Burning.
Well, I think 91.
91 is
this
what
is a
it
wild.
says
This has been
in the credits,
right.
And it says on Letterboxd, so that's what I stuck to. But yeah, I saw like three different dates too. I did.
Yeah, like it's.
I saw
but it was
90.
like
I saw 89. I saw 92.
It was a 7-year project, so
it was filmed in like 86 and 87. So I'm like,
right. But no, but even before that, the project was like longer.
Like all through the 80s, it feels like it.
Right. It was like the rise. That Jenny Livingston was like her whole history of like getting involved in the ball scene and just everything like that. It's I don't know. It's interesting. But yeah. We can get to that later.
Don't tell me we can't really do a full-on synopsis, but it's not my week to do the synopsis, is it?
I'm usually pretty good at remembering, and I can't.
Wait, so I can't remember. No, okay, it is yours because I did Speak No Evil, which was last.
That's right. Yeah, you did Speak No Evil. I mean, I can. This is like a.
I didn't come loaded, but like it's very factual. Like, just what's the documentary about? You don't have. That's what's different about it. It's not like well, here's the story beats. It's just like what's it about?
No, right. It's like late 80s New York ball scene or like kind of it's like the BIPOC community, typically they're gay or trans and they're doing it's like pageants and drag shows and voguing is really big. This is where like
I learned what voguing was.
Kind of exposed to voguing. Well, which is interesting though. You didn't. approaching this documentary, I had no idea what it was about necessarily. Like I knew what it was about in the sense that like it's just about that. It's about gay culture in New York.
I knew exactly. I knew it was about like drag and stuff a little bit, but I didn't know about the ball element like so heavily.
Do you want to know what? Do you want to know what's? Do you know what's fucking bonkers about this? And it's kind of like it's amazing. And I kind of watched this backwards. I watched a series called Pose, and it is literally
it's the sequel, the
like,
spiritual successor.
No. It's just basically a fictionalized version of these human beings.
Oh, really?
It's like it's like 100% like three characters and characters in quotes because three human beings that are documented in this, that go through their series of lives. They are actual story plots in the show Pose. And so watching this documentary after that show, I'm just like laughing because every single person
weird,
here, I'm like, oh, whoa. And like thinking when I was watching Pose, I was like, oh, this is interesting. It's like, it's getting like a deeper connection with something that hasn't really been in my peripheral. And like, being like a straight het white male.
Yeah. We're going to preface this. This is the disclaimer right now. Yeah. I felt intimidated to talk about this. Like I would talk about it from a filmmaking standpoint of view, but I'm just like, I just don't feel qualified because I'm like, yeah, a straight white guy that's like doesn't have to deal with any of these struggles the same as this movie. But it was eye opening, I really
and it was, yeah, and
I really enjoyed it.
The biggest takeaway is like it's how this was portrayed with such humanity, and it didn't focus on the like despair that it could have just sat in that and tried to that's what's so cool is this movie was so well received also. And I think it's due to the fact that it showed them as like complex, well-rounded human beings.
Oh, like it just feels like you're living in that. It's like a slice of life, and that's what I was immediately, because like you said, neither of us knew what this movie really was. Like I had heard about it a little bit. I've seen it on some lists and stuff. But I didn't know, but I was immediately booting it up. I was immediately taken with like, there's just something, and I was craving this, and that's why I put mostly old documentaries on that poll.
Yeah, dude.
Is I want that old like 16 millimeter film in the streets type documentary that you don't. Really
I loved it, dude. Oh my god, those two kids that were like from the Bronx, and like can't even remember Harlem and Bronx.
2:30 a.m. What are you doing?
Yeah, 2:30. They're like 14 years old. And like, dude, I was like, oh fuck yeah, those kids are so cool. Like, I loved seeing it too because it's like. It feels authentic because it's like because it is. I mean, there's nothing about it that's like fake. I mean,
I felt like traveling back in time for me, man. Like it was a trip because it's so raw and such like a slice of life. And like how I like my big title cards. It's got a ton of those.
Oh, dude, it's got a bunch of title cards. Dude, the whole time I was waiting for the fucking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to pop up out of the background and start fighting crime, dude.
Can you imagine?
But no, I'm going to say real quick, I wanted to shout out a different podcast that I was listening to today, and they go through this movie and kind of more of like the companion reading and there have been articles in this, like, this film has a large history. It was well received. There was quite a lot of backlash from some of the characters in this movie, and I keep saying characters, but some of the human beings, the people in this, their
documentaries. I know it's hard.
I know it is. It's kind of weird. And funny, yeah. I'm talking because I'm like, oh well, they're like,
personally, I didn't get a satisfying character arc with that,
Yeah, but you kind of, well, I mean, you
do.
There are arcs, but then just they're just human nature arcs of human beings, and what's cool though is like that they do play characters. That's a big part of this. That's really fun. Is like they do see this.
Why was there backlash from some of the stars?
Oh god, yes. Okay, sorry, I'm getting.
Well, I'm curious because it's like obviously it didn't show all of them, and like it didn't cookie cutter like showing everyone in the best light all the time. It showed some of them like fucking getting shit on, getting like.
Okay, oh my god, this is the ADHD podcast today. So let me just start off. Let me start off with my first thought real quick. There's a podcast called Queer as Fact, and it's Paris is Burning is the episode. And they go through and they talk about it, and it's great. I highly recommend finding that podcast and listening to it because it's going to be a lot more in depth, and
Yeah, we talk about
they approach
movies.
this-
We even said we don't watch documentaries,
We're
and
opinion-
yeah,
yeah, and
so we're definitely
very
going to come more
opinion-based
from
and
like
stuff.
a newcomer perspective for sure. So
Right, exactly. And so, but anyways, what they talked about and what I read later, the backlash mainly came from monetary. Like everybody in this movie,
'cause
they
it
appreciated
exploded.
it. Well, that's the thing. So they loved it because they were like, "Oh shit, I'm in the theaters, I'm in the movies, and it's like this is my life, and it's showing who I am." And like
That's a lot of their
some
motivation
the-
is like, I want to be big, I want to be
Well,
glamorous. You know?
Do you know what's crazy? I learned from this movie, and now it gives me a completely different perspective on documentaries. But you consider like you can use a documentary as the guise of journalism and not have to pay people. Even if your documentary makes millions and millions of dollars, you don't have to pay people because it's in the guise of
Interesting.
in journalism. Thus, that is why a lot of backlash happened.
Yeah, that's
Because
shady.
people from this movie
Right.
were like, "What the fuck? You got to pay out for Miramax, and we get $0 from this fucking thing. You know, you're using our lives." I'm like, I think that's so just. Later, there have been a few people, Paris Dupree especially. They got a settlement. There were quite a few settlements and stuff, and so it like not to give credit and say that pat the director on the back, but from whatever Miramax did, whoever had it later on down the line, people were being compensated, but I'm sure there was still a lot of like heartbreak and stress, and it's like something that these people have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. So that's frustrating, but it is very interesting to see that aspect of it, where you can now like furthering our documentary series this month. I'm gonna kind of watch every documentary under that lens. And
Yeah,
be
that's
like,
interesting.
Was this
I
person
didn't
was
know
this
that.
person paid? Because you know how like a lot of fucking like when it's on like Dateline or like 60 Minutes or they do like those big like who was it just now that to sensationalize the girl who killed her daughter. Oh my god.
Someone kills their daughter every day, buddy.
No, you would know her. She's from Florida, and oh my god,
Casey Anthony.
Casey Anthony. Thank you. That whole thing, like she got paid like thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars to do
Well, that's
interviews and
because
stuff.
she became a celebrity for killing her daughter. So go out and kill your
Right.
daughter, everybody. Just kidding. Please don't do that.
God, yeah, no, and that's what's just like so heartbreaking. Where it's like somebody like that, and especially because it's like a quote unquote attractive white woman who just gets paid, thousands of dollars
Yeah.
to portray her life. Anyways, that is like that's odd to me because I'm like that is still in the documentary series, and it's still even under the guise of journalism, but yet they get paid a lot, and I guess it's just to get views.
I wonder
Anyways,
what agreements, because there's probably
that's a side
agreements involved. So it's like I could probably go down and shoot a documentary about whatever and be like, hey, sign this release form to just be in my movie.
Right.
And I'm filming a documentary, and then they do it. And it's like, unless there's like a pre-established type of contract, I guess
Right.
that is what it falls under. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just like you basically own the
It's like
rights
you
to
gotta
their
hack-
story.
Well, that's the whole
essentially.
thing. It's like Casey Anthony, for example, just like she just became famous, and so after that, it's like it's hard to.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird how that works because it's
She
like
puts
yeah,
butts in seats. It's like the thing. Yeah.
Well, it's even like
But-
Paris is Burning. They probably it's like oh sure, your life, everything at this point, you would have to haggle to make money off of, but we own all the footage that was shot in this movie. So we already own it, so we don't have to give you anything. But I guess I'm glad they did as a sign of like goodwill. But yeah, that's
Yeah.
interesting. I never thought about
Right.
that. I've watched
I
a
didn't-
handful of documentaries and I haven't never thought about
Exactly.
that.
I didn't even. Yeah, and it never crossed my mind that like you could do that. I mean, clearly there's like there are
It makes sense, but it's like I
shady
wouldn't even
practices.
consider it.
Oh, right, exactly. Yeah, I never thought about that, but I don't know. Yeah, very, very interesting. But anyways, yeah. I mean, we kind of broke down the whole story about it. That's it. Really is simple. It just like it follows some people, and like it's kind of cool because it's like it's a history lesson on what balls were and what these pageants were, and like how that there are like house mothers and house fathers, and basically it's the community of like queer runaways and like people who are like gay and trans who either were disowned or just ran away to have a chosen family that's stronger for them.
Well, and you feel that early on, and I think
Totally,
that's
yeah.
what I really like about that energy is because it's like it doesn't go into it doesn't have a huge preamble about like, oh, this is like they're so disenfranchised. Like it really just like
Yeah,
throws you in the middle of it, and you're like, you can tell just from the enthusiasm and the way that everyone talks about it, the balls scene and everything, that like this is their kind of sanctuary. You know what I mean? Like this is their place where they can go and feel like get excited about something. Like this is their own culture that they've created. Going back to the 60s apparently, which I didn't even know, which is we're crazy and awesome.
That and there is that.
I want to see
documentary.
the old school ones. Yeah.
Well, did you know about the documentary, right?
I don't know.
So
what's a documentary?
I think it was Wheelie Ninja. This was from that Queer as Fact podcast. There is, or maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was someone from a different. Maybe it was the Pepper LaBeija, maybe. But anyways, there's somebody from this documentary that was in an old 60s documentary called The Queen about like that one's mainly focusing on like drag queen scene, and they're in it as a child. It's like a younger person, and now they like run a house in this movie. And so it's like it's cool to see like they were back there in kind of the dawn of the scene, even though this clearly trans and gay, and everyone in the LGBT Q plus community has existed forever. That's clear. They even state that in this documentary, how there have been people forever. And so but it's just kind of cool to see like, oh, there's some like film history of it, and I want to go watch that documentary now.
Yeah, it sounds interesting. I that's a thing I really liked. It was like the implied history, but it didn't. Like so many documentaries that I've seen, they set it out where it's like, here's the thing, here's the history of it, here's all the old snapshots. Right. This is literally
kind of like a beginning, middle, and end. It really does play
and
a
this,
narrative.
They just fucking, you're thrown in the middle of it, and it's like you see how far it's come, because obviously it's like there's so many different types of balls. They have so many different like it's like you can see
the categories are bonkers
over the years,
Yeah. Like I love how they just the old timers are like talking about how the new kids are coming in and they're just creating their own categories, and like the categories just keep going, and they're like, is it written down in pencil? Like, was it written down? Like, because you like got upset because the category phrasing wasn't correct. It's like I love those, like the little infighting was like really interesting.
There's so many trophies. There's just like tables of trophies.
Those trophies walking down, just like I can't imagine. I want a fucking oil painting of like a big group of people with just all those trophies on the subway, like an old New York, just graffitied, fucking dirty subway. Oh my god, and those trophies with like all the fabulous clothes. That's such a sick image. Like, but that's what's interesting about this is it's cool how you were talking like it is a sanctuary. This is where they can go, and it's like it's a safe place, and it's also a place where like everyone gets to feel larger than life, and like they get to feel like wealthy. And that the scene when they talk about white America in this movie was like it hit me hard, dude. I loved it. Like it's so true, and it like I don't know, and that's what's crazy. I can't, the whole time I was watching this, I'm like, oh man, to talk about this, I'm gonna just be that like fucking white dude that's just like, oh man, that's so inspiring. But like that, it truly is like it's harrowing, okay. And it's like it's tough to watch, and it's like, but it also is, it's very, lack of a better term, I just said it.
Well,
but like
I'm glad it focused
empowering on them, and like
I feel like this just definitely would have never been made today, just based on the fact that the way documentaries are made, it would be like this big historical thing, and then it would really play up like you said, like the tragedy and the really like suppression, because this is always there because it's so baked into the culture that like you feel it on the fringes. Like this documentary is not all puppies and sunshine. Like it's them celebrating their differences, and like also like their cattiness with each other, which is great. But like
all the phrases
there's
so cool.
cracks running through the whole thing. You know what I mean? That you feel like just naturally in the subtext, because it's just that's life, man. That's just real. Where I feel like a more modern documentary or a lesser documentary would really just like spell it out and really just flush it out. And I really appreciate that this just kind of like, here's this, like it just took a slice. Like this is really just like a slice of life from this whole thing. And it didn't like delve into like so many other aspects with like other things. Like, I don't know. It felt like it was happening now. And I feel like that.
Right.
I've never watched a documentary like that where it just captured me in this time and this place and this culture. Like I was immediately really sucked into it. Like, because I started watching it during the day while my kid was napping, and I was kind of bummed because I had to like stop it when he woke up for a minute, and I was like, oh man, I gotta finish that fucking movie.
Dude, it does.
I feel like I just came out of a time capsule.
Yeah,
I know it's
dude,
only
it's
like
really
70 minutes or something.
The whole time we're watching it, I'm like, oh man, like there's so much more I want to know. And I have great news for you and myself because I started watching it and it's dude, it's exactly what I wanted. So the one, like my only quote unquote critique of this film, because it's like as it sits, it actually the cinematography on it's actually pretty cool and it's pretty fun and it feels like lively and that 16 to like hear some 16 millimeter
you can hear
reel
it in the interviews. Some like a lot of the times.
Oh my god, that's beautiful, dude. I'm totally like my film nerd inside is like freaking out. But it's like
Same, yeah.
it like technically it is what it is. Shot on fucking 16 millimeter in a lot of its natural light.
We watched the Criterion edition, so it was like obviously remastered and looked really good. And
it looked really good. And I watched some old original footage, and it is night and day for real.
I can bet.
But Criterion released a 2-hour documentary, like deleted scenes, and I posted that on our Reddit.
I saw you posted something. I haven't watched it yet.
Go watch it. I'm only like 45 minutes into it. Oh my god, it's exactly what I wanted.
Footage. Yeah, I'm sure they have tons of footage.
It's what you want too out there. If you've only ever seen Paris is Burning, please do yourself the favor. Just go to YouTube, type in Paris is Burning. Like I can't even remember what it is. Deleted scenes, I think is what it says.
Better yet, fuck YouTube. Go to our subreddit.
Go to our subreddit. Yeah, if you go to our subreddit, r/coldest cinema knowledge, and it just in your fucking Google, just type in r/coldest cinema knowledge, and it'll pop up. And you can watch the deleted scenes, and it is amazing. It's like there's no music, it's raw, and it's just straight up interviews, and there's so much more. And it like totally flushes all the character and like character, but it flushes their backstories out. It like
real people can have character. It's cool. I know what you mean.
Right, exactly. And in that case, it is more their character because it's like there are people in there that like I didn't know. They have like larger families outside of this, where in the documentary, I almost feel like even for a documentary that doesn't create a complete strong bias one way or the other necessarily, and it doesn't like, it's just trying to tell a story, and just, it's following these people. It's interview style essentially that, it's not trying to create a complete narrative. But when you have this, you get more context of who they are and like how this like is ingrained in their life, but they have so much more outside of it. And I really appreciated that. And it totally, because like Venus Extravaganza, rest in peace. And like there a lot of people from this now have passed away.
Oh, but, I'm sure. I mean, this movie was made before we were even born. So
right, exactly. And so it's like, So anyways, and she passed away in 1988 before this movie was even released.
Yeah, and it ends on that note, which is like kind of a gut punch.
Right. Well, dude, and if you want a bigger gut punch,
it's just like it just breezes over it too, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm glad they didn't like make it in the deleted, though,
in the deleted scenes, you get more interviews with her, and it is devastating, dude, because she talks about
her life,
how much of a full life she wanted. Like, but no, it's not
like,
even like
all the dreams in the future. You can.
That's
feel
what
that.
it is. That's what it is. She talks about it, dude. It's like a whole like 25 minutes of her just being like her and her partner and like what she wants from him and like how they both want to adopt a daughter and like they just talk about like how she wants to have like a life forever. She wants to like, and she's like, I foresee my life being successful and
it just ends casually. They're just like interviewing one of the other people and they're like, oh, she had some risky decisions and I had to go identify her body when they found her fucking shoved under a mattress, strangled to death. And you're just like, God damn. Because it's like, she's one of the main characters, if you can call it that, but it's like definitely one of the focuses of the film. She's a focus, yeah. But like, that's the thing that's the gut punch because she's the most enthusiasm. It's like the most bright and like just like really, I don't know. And it's just, it's sad because it almost glosses over it. It's just like, oh, R.I.P., that happened, but I'm just like, holy, what? hold up a second.
Yeah.
This movie I've been watching, like, because the movie goes so fast. I'm like, I'm glad they didn't fixate on it, because again, a lesser documentary would have played
exactly.
it up so huge.
That would have been it. That would have been the whole narrative of the documentary is her murder, and that would have been how they got the views. I'm like, I really is like, I'm so happy that this was like fully independent, and it was, it's made in a time period where it's like that style. Like, we still do interview documentary like that. That's basically, that's the basis of a documentary. That's like the whole point is you're having a conversation with somebody and you documenting somebody's life and an event. And now the structure has changed a lot where you don't ever hear anybody's questions, in the documentary.
No,
and it's like, and you usually, you try to like,
it's kind of interviews, like so many documentaries these days, I feel like are treated, I mean, the ones I've seen anyway, are treated like investigative documentaries, which is totally fine and great. But it's like, the people that go and making them are like, okay, we want to do interviews, but then like, here's all my research already, and we're going to put the research into the movie and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And, but this is like camera on the street, baby. Boom. It's just like, that's how it goes. That's what I like about it. It's raw. It's raw.
It was, dude.
But you cried.
But yeah, I mean, we never, no, but I was definitely like, when at the end when they did that, I was taken aback.
I really like. I forget the other person's name, but it was the older. The whole interview was her getting ready, putting the makeup on the whole time.
Dorian Corey.
Dorian, yep, that's the one.
Yeah.
That was fascinating. I want to watch a whole movie of just like, because it's like that's kind of the opposite, like. Where she had the hopes and dreams, and like is definitely older now, and like it's like, I've just learned to be content, and it's just like also kind of like talking shit a little bit, like all these fuckers, all these ones, and so it's just that whole through line through. It's just like the sad. I don't know. It was like, I feel like her story is the saddest.
I love
like the most fascinating, but the most fascinating.
And the most like realistic, in my opinion, like it is, because she is like older. And actually, I apologize. I'm not sure. I don't remember what their pronouns are.
I knew we were gonna butcher that at some point, so I'm like,
of course, right.
I'm gonna make that assumption just for now, just to make it easy, because I don't think they say, and I don't know.
I know. I think it does come up later, but I'm right now I can't remember. It like comes up later in interviews and stuff, just outside of this documentary.
Yeah.
And so. Anyways, but they feel the most glamorous to me, because that's like, they even talk about how they came from like
the 60s
bigger pageants,
and like
when it was like
back then when we were all trying to emulate like
Vegas,
Marilyn Monroe and the Vegans and the sequence, which
and
I want to go back and watch that older one, like you're saying, because they're talking about the bygone days when it wasn't about designer models, it was about like fucking feathers and pearls and shit. And I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. I want to go see that.
No, those are fun. Yeah, that is like the showgirls. But what I think is great, this is kind of on like that person's storyline, it's not as tragic as much as it feels like they are a movie star. Like they even like, actually now I'm getting it mixed up, because I think in the deleted scenes they talk about how like they're like I am a star. You're on that runway for 30 seconds and everybody's paying attention to you.
No, they definitely say it in this one, because it's like,
okay, yeah.
That's like the big takeaway. They're like, I don't need to be rich and famous like all these dreams, because it's like, because I have the balls. Like, this is what it's like you do. You're out there and you're putting yourself out and you have these moments, and it's like, you are a star, and because I felt like that was a big takeaway of like kind of the theme of the movie and just balls in general.
And a lot of people, that's what they kept talking about. This is kind of cool, because this is a snapshot into like, it's like fucking American Psycho. Like they are like talking about
exactly like American Psycho.
But no, but the satire of American Psycho, where it's all about that, like owning the next CD player and owning like the next thing, and like it's like being clean cut and being like, it's the vanity that's involved with like the 80s that I've heard about, and it does exist, but watching it in this, it's like, it's so cool to hear them talk about it, and like it was just kind of the cultural norm to be like, we want designer, we want this, like we want to emulate what we see, And
Yeah,
but
they're
they
talking
but, I
about
mean, they
being
clearly
like
were creating their
real,
own.
like you could pass out in the street, you know.
Yes, yeah. Oh, and that was that's so interesting. Yeah,
and it has all the
doing-
shots of like, you know, the rich women around town, and like you
Yeah.
see the classic Wall Street executive just smoking a cigar on the
Uh-huh. Yeah, I love that.
And
Yeah.
it felt like this. A lot of times I forgot I was watching a documentary because a lot of this felt like a movie, and I had to remind myself. I'm like, no, that's just like they just filmed some fucking guy doing that, and it's like, I don't know.
Well, and I love like the theming. It
was potent for sure. It was super potent because like, I don't know, because the whole time they're talking about this, it's showing all this glitz and glam and like newspaper covers, and they're like showing the cutouts, and that's what I'm talking. This movie has like the cracks running through, but they're in like these like more rundown buildings, and they're like in the apartment that's like,
well, and it's
obviously
it is,
like just like
it's Harlem
poverty.
in the 80s.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
it's like,
right?
but it's that's what makes it kind of so beautiful though, because it's just like you could tell it's like, you know, this. It's like this beacon of hope, even though, and I'm glad this movie does not focus on like the despair and stuff, and like the prejudice and all that, because it's all there and it's all talked about, and like, but it's I don't know, they focus on the hope. But then again, I probably watch the deleted scenes and then just be like, oh my god, just cry.
Well, no, even in the deleted scenes, I like them because it's more long form.
Yeah.
Like they're like really talking, and like, and it just, I don't know, it feels so authentic, and that's what's great. It's like this is a wonderful movie to have immortalized, and like I'm glad that Criterion was able to do.
Yeah.
You know,
I think it was a good movie
released.
to start the month off with, you know, because it was definitely the type of documentary that I'm not used to, you know what I mean? And I feel like it was really sort of a breath of fresh air for me, you know? And I like that. It's just what I was looking for, you know what I mean?
I know. Yeah, and it's cool. It's like, and I really like, I do recommend, I mean, I can't remember the creator of Pose, but he's got some controversy. But anyhow, I recommend Pose though itself, because it's got a lot of like, you know, trans and like queer BIPOC folks in it, and like it's a good show too. And it's like wild. After watching this documentary, watch Pose, and you'll just be like, oh fuck, this is like, they like directly, like the creators of Pose watched this documentary and then just was like, oh okay, we'll write a show.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
makes sense. That sounds I'm gonna have to watch that. That sounds interesting actually. Because I'm thinking about it now, going back on like the Miramax deal and the money and the payout and everything.
the money.
What so how much?
Yeah,
break it
I'll
down
give you a
for
little
me.
money
What do you got? Yeah, I'm curious.
It's hard because, like I said, it was a 7-year thing, and they got it together. But like principal production, and like at the end of the day, it was $500,000 to shoot this. I'm like, I bet you $1 million that came from studio like they probably worked in like an actual edit bay and like got, you know, and getting all the film. I bet it was like 90% film and editing, like, you know, the post production.
I'm
like,
sure the post
getting the film
took
developed
forever.
and like,
Getting it developed.
yeah,
all the actual
and like running through all the footage. Yeah, because it's like it's something like for like every 2-hour documentary, it's like 70 hours of footage or something, or
it's insane.
70, 80 hours.
And
it's
when
like wild.
that's
how
why
much
I'm saying
footage you have.
nowadays you can just shoot.
I know,
And
yeah.
that's kind of the beauty of this. It's like you really have to like pick and choose a little bit more, you know.
Yeah, but it's wild because it's like, I mean, I guess the 16 millimeter, the original footage looks very 16 millimeter, and like Criterion cleaned it up really well. But it also, like, I don't know, it still looked good, and it's like still a film, and so I don't know, it still costs a lot of money. But anyhow, yeah, like that's like their estimate. It was 500,000, and then it says that it made box office $4 million. So I'm not sure if that includes the deal or what that includes. But I honestly wouldn't be surprised if that just was
straight up box office.
Right, straight up box office, because voguing was like hella popular at this time, and
and when it finally released in like the early 90s.
Was the scene. Yeah, right, because the Marilyn, or what's her name? Not Marilyn. Oh my God, she's a singer. I think she sings a song called Vogue.
I don't know. Don't ask me.
Oh my God, I can't remember her name.
I don't fucking know.
He changes her appearance all the time, but she always looks young. Oh my God, who cares? Whatever. There's someone who created a song that really blew this up, and so I feel like this was like right before it and right in the mix, and so
Right in the
this
mix.
definitely got a lot of
perfect place, perfect time. It had to be.
yeah, right.
That's why
And I think
I would be interested because I was so, watching it in the year 2023, the year of our Lord. I was like, oh man, this is a fucking snapshot into the past. I feel like I time traveled into 1989 New York. Hell yeah. But I am curious what the viewing experience was like when this released in 91 or whatever. When people finally got around to seeing it, like I wonder what that was. Curious.
Well, I mean,
if you're
people are having a good time in theaters with
those
it too,
of you,
so.
if anyone's listening and you watched this and it released, you watched it when it released back in the early '90s. What was your reception back then? I'm curious because I can't see it with fresh eyes like that as much. You know what I mean?
That's true. Yeah, I don't know it. I have a lot more like culture behind us to watch this, so it's like I almost feel like I watch it a little more prepared nowadays. Like more comfortable. This definitely was like.
Well, I'm glad.
I don't know how many.
I'm glad we
screens
started
played
it
on,
because
but-
it's like I didn't know what it was about, but I'm like, trans folk and drag queens and stuff. They need to win, so I'm glad we watched this movie because I'm like, just hearing all the everyday fucking bigotry and shit. But we won't get into that. But I'm like, okay, this is nice, and I was suggesting to my I was like. I won't get it. I was like, tell my stepdad, like, yeah, you should go watch Paris is Burning.
Yeah, right. God.
But yeah, man, I don't know. This movie is pretty good. I feel like I like the whole breakdown sequence of explaining, like, because
dude,
I
yeah,
feel
we
like
didn't even get into that.
I still don't
Like,
even really know
like
fully
throwing
what
shade
voguing is and shade, but
and,
it's just
like-
basically like we're cut from the same cloth. But so I'm gonna pick out these shit, and then I'm gonna I don't know. It's like the earliest forms of I'm gonna break dance. I'm gonna dance at you, bitch. Like to just
right. It is. Yeah, it's like
like
what
how
is
you
that? Yeah,
like
it's like
now. Like
well, when I think dance is an expression of it's physical, but you're not supposed to touch. You're supposed to just literally leave it all on the floor, and you're I don't know. You're supposed to express yourself, and then it's I think just how it turned out. It's it goes from doing movements and doing choreography, and then really contorting your body, and whoever
I really
when you
that
can.
'cause
Dude,
sometimes it's choreographed, but a lot of times you could feel like this is
just the
just art.
spontaneity, yeah.
This is just like someone moving their body in the moment, how they feel. Like there's that one where they're going down the stairs backwards, like crab crawling down the stairs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this wasn't planned, man. They're just feeling it, baby.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. It's just like you don't see. I want to see more dance. It's because I'm not familiar as much with dance as an art form as I would like to be, as I am with other art forms. Yeah. But I'm like, dance is raw emotional expression. I like to see those moments in this where it's just like you can feel they're working some shit out. They're feeling they're feeling glamorous. There's so many different things that it's just I'm there.
They do tell a story too. They do have it totally I love the part with the compact when they open the compact and they use it like makeup, but it's part of the voguing. It shows the mirror and then builds the mirror.
Yeah,
dude. Yeah. That's so sick. And then I love all the phrases, and I damn it, I didn't write it down.
No, we're not that good, man. We can't get all the slang.
Such a
1980s
that
black gay
when he
slang,
talks
man.
about,
I can't do it.
when
there's
he
no way we'll
talks
be on that
about
level.
The one dude that's sitting out on the street and they're interviewing him, and damn, I didn't write it down, did I? I wrote down shade, but if I can
Just,
when they said something when they said they're like, oh, we pilfer it or whatever, and they're like, well, no, we steal it. Why'd they say that? Oh my god, I can't remember what the stupid saying is. I'll have to go back and look up. I love that. It was so funny because how they said it, it's just a sly we pinched it basically, and that, and they're like, well, it just means we steal it. I'm like, hell yeah.
I liked all the houses that was just
I love it.
I don't know. It's just so cool that they just spent so much time building up all these scenes based around dance and pageants and pageantry
and that's
stuff.
what's fun.
And it's
Pose,
this is House Ninja, man.
Right. And Pose kind of gets into that a little bit more, actually showing outside of, because they don't, they only do balls once a month, and so it's it's all the other time in between, the life that you live and like the hustle that you have and like going to, because like some kids are still in school, but it's like trying to balance that like the like reality of life with school, and then
that's all the other
like
the darker side of things. They're like, oh,
yeah,
like it doesn't matter if you got money because they'll just fucking shoplift that shit. Like they don't have
right.
it. They'll spend all the money they do have getting shit
Yeah.
for this ball.
Get for the ball, then yeah,
that's like where the excitement comes in. And so it's like it's such a niche community that I feel like I'm like. It's not like I'm watching something I shouldn't be watching, but it's just like I feel like I got invited to something that's just like
right,
check
exactly.
this, like come to this group, man, and check out this like scene, and being like, whoa, this is cool. Like a lot of people this is like such a niche little community that it's like I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm glad it exists. I'm glad somebody made a fucking documentary about it.
Yeah, dude, I appreciate the opportunity
in the moment.
to see it. Yeah, right.
Because
to be a part of this world.
I'm going to put it on one of the polls, but the other main documentary I was thinking of while watching this was The Decline of Western Civilization. So I guess if I'm skipping ahead, that'd be like, I don't know anything else. I don't know any other documentaries or movies, like you said, Pose and stuff. But,
Pose would be my recommendation if you
like this, watch this. Mine would be
Pose.
The Decline of Western Civilization, because it's like, it's the similar feeling. It was filmed during, 1979, 1980 in the punk scene. Which was like a snapshot in time, but there's like a million punk documentaries, but they're all looking back. But this one, that movie also felt like being transported, but maybe not as effectively. I don't know. Like I feel like I definitely was transported. I want to watch it again, but I definitely feel like I was transported. But in this movie, I definitely was like I was there.
Oh yeah.
But that'd be.
I could feel like
that was the only other relation I can think that I was like, man, it's like seeing this movie film at the time, I prefer, because so many documentaries are like looking back on stuff. So it's like it's interesting to see ones like as a scene's popping off, And
like you were saying, they're so heavily researched. It was great to have this because it just felt at times there's times where I'm like, oh man, like you would think like, oh, come back with like, it's just sometimes it seemed like super dry because it's just like a true off the cuff, like they're thinking.
Yeah, they're just like, just tell me what this means. Like I'm just like explain it to me as an outsider, and it's like, but it's like in the moment, in the now.
Yeah.
Because it's like I don't even know what happened with the ball scene and voguing and all that shit after this movie, and so it's like the lens looking back probably would be way different, because it's like obviously there was a lot before it and there was a lot after it. This is just like slice of pie in the middle,
Right, and I think this is like the height of it, and there will always be scenes, and I do feel like, they transform. I mean, even within this documentary, they're talking about like an 8-year span, and they're like, oh, things have changed drastically since then. Like in the 80s, like voguing didn't exist. It's like the balls were completely different, and so it's just like. They got up to this point. So yeah, I can imagine it's fast and it's a snapshot. So
right. I'm gonna read a couple Reddits. Yeah, I was just saying.
Please.
I feel like I've said slice of life, like a slice of life, so many times. I'm like, I gotta move on.
I got it. Yeah, no.
I'm like, it's a snapshot into a time and place. Take a drink.
I know. Right? Yeah.
So I've got a couple Reddits. So Brundlefly Urinal Cake, which is like the best username ever. Thank you. Says pretty much required viewing in gay circles. Informs not only current ballroom reality programming like Legendary, but also seen as a crossover into drag culture a la RuPaul's Drag Race. In addition, great time capsule peering into black and brown queer life in the early 80s when AIDS was big news. Which that's another thing. They barely talked about that, but it's like it's the shadows there, and I kind of like that, because again, could have easily just been about that, and I'm glad it wasn't. Because it would have taken away from the joy of the ball. Anyway, so, and Ames76 says, this has been my favorite documentary since I discovered it 10 years ago. It's so raw and is so grand, but covered in a shadow of melancholy and, at times, hopelessness. Yeah, see?
That's great.
I am cheering for every one of the stories told, and I am shocked by how they developed throughout the film. There's one story that's particularly disturbing. This is a beautiful, though flawed at times, insight to a subculture that has been celebrated yet stolen from. It's such a bittersweet film. It's a feat for its time and still a look into a world that we will never see again. Sure, ball culture is still a thing, but not in the way that it was captured here. 100%. Well said.
That is, yeah, well put. That's
I'll
great.
give you one more. So,
I
Furious,
love that. Melancholy works really well because
That's
it has
100%.
like
That's
it has a tone of melancholy
See, I
throughout
had to
it.
read the Reddits
like-
first so I could just fucking steal what they're
Just
saying.
steal it.
Because
Yeah, we'll just-
I
so we'll
spent
do
20
it.
minutes trying to say what they said in one sentence. Fuck.
Yeah. I know. We're just gonna read Reddits now. You guys give us all the info. We won't
I know.
read your.
That's it. We're just gonna read the
No,
whole
we-
thing.
We appreciate
I'm
you
gonna
commenting. Thank you
slow
so
it
much.
way down. So Furious George 7777 says it captures the late 80s, early 90s so well. Agreed is very raw, but you get people championing who they are and the world that they're a part of. There's a mix of earnestness and defiance that I don't think could be captured today. 100%.
Fine. Yeah, guys. Woo! Thanks everybody out
That's
there.
nice. Yeah, appreciate that. Thanks for everyone commenting, and then also, it's like I'm glad watching these.
Right.
People are
You
checking-
wanna? Let's finish it off. Let's have Travis play us out here.
Yes, let me find the old Travis. Let's see. Hey, this reminds me, while I pull it up, you told me to I cut out a little bit of the last episode of this part where we just sat and talked trying to find the voicemail. But I'm not going to do that this time. I'm leaving it all. I'm leaving it all out on the phone. I'm leaving in my sneezes and my coughs and everything because my
Le
yawns.
Professional.
Ooh,
I know. Yeah, I mean, we are a raw pod.
God, this is a long one. This one's like 2 minutes long.
Oh hell yeah, dude. Okay, let's hear it.
All right, let's see.
Hey guys, Paris is Burning is an amazing documentary. A behind-the-scene personal look into something I knew nothing about. Besides the exquisite fashion, spectacular dancing, and beautiful sights of self-expression, this documentary had almost no on-camera involvement by the maker. I think you can see her once in a mirror, and only a few times can I remember hearing her voice. All the dialogue is done from the people involved themselves. In their own words, we get everything. There's so much positivity and pride, if you will, throughout this documentary that I was truly disappointed with the bleak ending. What I mean by this is there were many opportunities to harp on the difficulties and dangers of being gay in New York City at that time, but I felt it was a conscious decision to concentrate on people's dreams and aspirations and not on their hardships. So in the second to final interview, when we learn of Venus Extravaganza's horrible demise, I was shocked and saddened after being in an upbeat mood. This followed by Dorian Corey's cold closing remarks, and my vibe had completely changed. I still love this documentary, and I've already recommended it to some friends. Just wished it had a happy ending. Well, I don't have a question today, but would like to iterate the cultural value of this documentary by repeating what was said by a man outside a ball when describing the importance of a ball. He said, you go in there, you feel 100% right of being gay. And then he's asked, and that's not what it's like in the world? He responds, it's not like that in the world. You know, it should be like that in the world. Thanks, guys.
Dude.
Thanks.
Thank
That
you,
is a
Travis.
really great scene too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I like
such
those
a
interviews.
yeah. God, I know. It's like I love how it's just like how it's so wild because I don't know, man. Oh yeah, they just capture it so well. That's all I can really keep saying is like they capture it so
really
perfectly.
is a slice of life.
Okay, dude. Not slice life. This isn't like fucking. This isn't Stand By Me. But it's like they just like the fact that they're like we are oppressed constantly, and like they say that a lot where they're like gay life's harder than straight life.
Oh, yeah.
It's like it's kind of almost like
but
they
yeah,
they
it's like-
state it right. They state it so plainly, and you're just kind of like yeah, but it almost like that wasn't a thing. Like I mean, in the late '80s, you just like people would be like, oh yeah, gay people exist, and that was kind of it. People wouldn't even be like, oh, gay people, I'm like good for them. Like it would barely even be that. Like it's just so wild how staunch it is, and like how far we've come, and yet still are still so stunted, and it's still like it's so like that's why this movie's so important
really.
culturally. It's like to look back on it and to see the hope, and so we can see that we have made steps forward, but there's still so much to do.
Still
and
so
like,
much, because that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's like watching it in today's political climate and everything. it's like this is just as relevant now as it was 35 years ago, and it's good to see, yes, how far we've come, but it's sad to also see that it's just like some certain aspects of our society. It's one step forward,
gay
two
life
steps
is
back. You know,
yeah, gay life's still harder than straight life.
Yeah,
that's kind of
black life too, man. Like it's like
no
no matter what.
Right.
I
community,
kind of disagree with Travis a little bit.
I was gonna say I feel like it has a hopeful ending, but
Only
I mean, like
the biggest censure for me. So it's like the ending. There was a gut punch, like I said earlier. I said, you know, hearing Dorian's closing remarks, it's like very kind of a downer, and then hearing about what happened to Venus.
Well, when their friend talks about it, I feel like it's so plain that that's just how it works. Anyways, yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's like breezed over so casually, but then like the credits, man, the credit sequence, it was just like it was over like, you know, some raw footage and black, but it's just like this really upbeat like fucking like funk song, and it's just definitely it left me with the feeling like, you know what, we're gonna fucking persevere anyway, man. Like it's fucking, some of us get killed and some of our dreams died, and that's fucking life, but we're gonna just, you know, we're gonna have hope and power on, and that's what I was left with. Because it was like a one gut 1-2, and I think that if it wasn't for the the credit sequence in the end, because it left me with that feeling of being like, I looked and I was like, yeah, right on, okay, dude, good for you, you know, like fuck yeah, but it kind of switched it around, but it was like at the end, it is kind of like the rug pulled out from under you, sort of, for a second.
Well, and I think what threw me off is that it was so casually thrown out there. But then, like, the more I thought about
she
it,
didn't die. And then I'm like, holy shit, she fucking died. And it's like they didn't, like, they're just like breezed over it. Goddamn.
Yeah, but then that echoes back to like the white America, and like that everything gets taken away from them, and they still find a way to like.
And the sad thing is the only reason they probably even talked about her is because she was like she was the cute white one. You know what I mean?
Right. No.
It's like, who knows if it would have happened to one of the other gals, and it probably did. That's the thing. It's like that probably happened to a bunch. But
well, it did a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
Any sex worker.
It makes it so much worse because she's talking earlier about how she had like had some scary moments with like a guy.
I know.
And it just makes it so much worse. I'm like, oh man, they got her.
Dude, watch those deleted scenes. I'm telling you.
I know. I don't want to cry.
It's so like, yeah.
I already told you I'm too quick to cry at movies these days.
Yeah, yeah. God, it's good though. Yeah, dude. I love. Yeah.
Anyway, if you haven't watched it, go see Paris is Burning, and if you're bigot, then fuck you. But
I really though. Yeah, that's kind of Or go and know what, if you are bigot, go watch this, and then if you don't, if you're not like. If you truly still have hate in your heart, then I guess that's your life that you live. I don't know.
It sucks to be you.
Take it. Keep it out of.
Sucks to be you, miserable fuck.
Keep it away from everybody else.
Just keep your hate to yourself, please. That would be preferable.
Yeah, even then, or try to like change yourself, dude. Get fucked and go out there and watch this documentary.
No, seriously though.
I can work on it.
It's
a lot to work on. So
it's seriously. So anyway, go watch this. I really enjoyed it. We are full heading on into more documentaries. The next documentary we're watching
is very far from what we watched
this
today.
Definitely, it seems like a lighthearted kind of corrupt scandal. So it's like, the next movie is Enron, the smartest guys in the room. And I remember, like, I casually know about Enron and the fall of Enron and like how crooked they are.
My dad worked for Enron.
What?
A telemarketing company. Like Enron.
I don't know why that doesn't even surprise me.
I know. It's like it wasn't like he didn't work directly for Enron, but Enron did like some outsourcing or something for them. But anyhow,
imagine your dad and like the .com boom being like,
hello,
this is Enron.
I can fucking dude. You know what I have? I'm gonna. Oh my god, this is a relic, dude. I'm gonna search for this. Enron made a Pokemon card as an advertisement.
That's
amazing. Advertisement for their company. I gotta look it up, dude.
Please do. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
We're watching Enron, and it's like I'm interested to see the details of how it all went down, because it's like I only know tangentially like what it's about. I remember when this documentary came out, it was like a big deal, and it was apparently very good. So I'm excited to see how the documentary format lends to this story and helps it unfold, and then B, just learning about the content of it in general and learning about the history and seeing how sad probably because they're just one company and there's probably hundreds that do the same thing.
Yeah.
Crooked,
I
I know I'm gonna watch a documentary about crooked corporations, and the one of them,
Yeah.
one that gets the comeuppance, and I'm like, that's just the fall guy for all the other fucks. But we'll see. That's how I feel right now.
Right.
But we'll see next. Tune in next week to see my thoughts next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, buddy.
This week we're gonna say goodbye.
Yeah, we're
I mean, go find us on everything. We're really lazy with our stuff, but please,
you know
please
how it is.
find us on Patreon.
You didn't stumble across this. You are here.
That's true.
Who knows? You clicked on it.
Maybe
but
they did.
Maybe.
If you did stumble on this and you've made it this far,
thank you.
I love you.
I love you.
And I think, and I love everyone else who has been listening to us forever. You rock. True. And if you're new, we love you. And follow us on Reddit. That's where a lot of our conversation happens.
And we've got the website. Check us out on Instasnarf.
The website will show you. We'll direct you to our letterbox and to our Patreon. And the website's,
I
it's a
point
great
the
resource.
website to people who don't use Reddit because I tell a lot of people about it in real life, and they're like, I'm not on Reddit, which is weird to me. I feel like everyone's on Reddit. But
can you comment on the website? Right? Can't you?
You
go
can,
to a movie
yeah,
and
you
comment?
can technically, but
Please, leave us a
everything you
comment.
need to know about what we're watching, where to watch it, and everything is on the website. It's
on the website, yeah.
It's just very straightforward that way. So hopefully you can get in and watch the movies we're watching because it's like this is another example again why even if me and Jordan were screaming in a vacuum, we'd still do this. Because I would never have watched Paris is Burning without this, without the film club. I never would.
I'm so happy that it won.
Like I've always heard about it, but it's like there's so many other movies on my watch list that would have got lost in the weeds, and so I'm glad it won, and I'm glad I was able to check it out. And now I got to go back and watch all the other fucking documentaries because now I've got to roll. I'm on a roll now.
I am on a. Well, I watched. I'm glad that. Minding the Gap didn't win because I watched that the other night.
Oh really?
I just haven't logged it.
I've never seen it, so
it's good.
But so stay tuned. We'll put out we put out a new podcast every Wednesday, and then we're gonna have polls of what we're watching on the weekend. So yeah, check out the Reddit, check out all the stuff, and thanks for listening or /watching. Hi.
I'll let go. Okay. Have a good night.
Bye bye.
Bye.